Okay, so we're looking at where this dissolution stems from, stemming from matriarchal ascension. Little bit vague there. And the other issue here is you've said it's stemming from two things. And whilst it's okay to say two things, matriarchal ascension and patriarchal entrapment, it's more meaningful and impactful to just focus on one thing. Focus on one thing. Avoid doing double ups. This is the double up problem. And it's going to happen in basically every response that we look at here for this particular student response and other student responses. Okay, I see it all the time. It's more impactful to just focus on one thing, even if it's true that there is something else that's relevant. It doesn't mean you should just list everything. Okay, save up the patriarchal entrapment point or the matriarchal ascension point for somewhere else in the paragraph. Try and just restrict it to one thing. Otherwise, you are diluting, you are lessening, weakening the importance of each individual thing you're saying there. Because now I'm thinking, okay, it's stemming from matriarchal ascension and patriarchal entrapment. It's a little bit confusing in a sense because you've just said and there are these two things and I have to try and distinguish between them. And I'm not really focusing as much on each particular thing. I'm trying to balance my attention between the two. So try and just keep it tighter and more sharp, punchy by focusing on one thing and avoid the end trap, okay? Avoid too many ends and ors and commas with lists of things in all of your essays. So it's stemming from that, achieved through the mental transcendence. Now, good effort here to go beyond the question by using an adjective before the actual keyword of the question. Remember that transcendence was there. It was actually literary transcendence. So the question already provided the type of transcendence, literary transcendence, the ability for a text, right, a product of literature, to actually go beyond its immediate context. We've kind of changed it here and gone, okay, well, I want to go beyond the question. I don't want to just repeat the question. So the student's gone, mental transcendence. It's like, that's not exactly what the question was meaning by that. And this is why it's so important to clarify how you're going to interpret those key terms from the question at the get-go. This is why it's important that you don't just start writing straight away, because it'll become very obvious to a marker that you don't quite get the question or you're changing your interpretation of the question at different points in your essay. We need to be very clear about how we're going to treat literary transcendence. For me, as I said, that is about a text being able to go beyond its immediate context and for its meaning to change over time. But now we're kind of misappropriating it. We're using it in a way that it wasn't intended in the question. And there is some scope for interpretation. So it's not like there's only one way to interpret literary transcendence. But in this particular instance, it's like we're taking that word transcendence and misapplying it. We're actually using it to say a mental transcendence of Plath. And it just seems like that's going away from what the question meant when it said how dismantlement and reconstruction of identities leads to literary transcendence. If transcendence was used here to actually say, look, it's transcending beyond her own work, or she's trying to elevate her message so that it extends beyond her immediate context or something like that, then yes, you could do that. But it's tricky to use it up front here anyway, because we haven't brought hues into the equation yet. And again, I would be applying literary transcendence if we're talking about a textual conversation here in the context of that relationship, not so much with respect to one individual text, especially if this is your first paragraph of an essay.